Welcome to the Blisscipline podcast, where you'll learn everything you need to know to meditate deeply. I'm Dr. Roshan Parikh. I'm a deep meditation coach and spiritual teacher based in New York City. As a part of this podcast, I'll be doing videos about books that I have found to be particularly helpful in learning how to meditate deeply. In these videos where I discuss these books, I'll tell you what I think are the most important takeaways and what the most actionable insights are that you can apply to improve your meditation practice. The book I'm going to talk about today is the one that started me on the meditative path, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Michael Singer is a New York Times best-selling author. He's written 3 books, The Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experiment, and Living Untethered. Michael Singer is quite well known in famous circles, likely due to being interviewed by folks like Oprah and Tony Robbins. So first, let me tell you how this book came into my life. After finishing my master's degree over 10 years ago, I moved to Florida to start a new job. I was incredibly excited because I felt like I was starting a new chapter of my life. But the moment I crossed into Florida, that excitement just disappeared. And to be clear, nothing had really changed in that moment. The only thing that was different was that I crossed an invisible state line. This experience struck me as odd. Why would my emotions flip so abruptly when nothing in reality had changed? And all jokes aside about Florida, I began to realize that this was a very familiar experience. I spent most of my life chasing things to make me happy. And as most people do, in fact, usually it was a gadget or a new internship, a new job, or a new degree. When I would achieve those things, I would be happy for a little while. I'd be satisfied for a little while, but then it would always fade. And sitting there in the driver's seat, I finally recognized that chasing things never gave me a lasting sense of happiness and fulfillment. And that realization really bothered me. So once I settled into my new apartment, I decided to figure out how to be content with what I have and with how things are in the present. To do that, I sought self help books, thinking they could give me the guidance I needed to help me figure this out. This search led me to The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The funny thing is, I read the synopsis and I immediately scoffed at it. It talked about matters of spirituality, and I had long since removed anything related to religion or spirituality from my life. But the reviews for this book were incredible. So many of them talked about how this book transformed their lives. So I figured, why not give it a read? What's my worst case scenario? I read a book that I didn't like and I lose a little of my time as a result. I'll live. And as you might imagine, given that I'm literally doing a video on this book, I'm so glad that I read it because the book also transformed my life. In my opinion, the most important takeaway from this book is that the way the vast majority of us pursue happiness is actually making us miserable. The way we typically pursue happiness is by telling ourselves that when I have this or that, I'll be happy. Or I'll be happy when this happens or when that doesn't happen, and so on. And then we strive to make those things be true. But what you may not realize is that when you set those conditions, you impose limits on yourself for when you can be happy. Michael Singer argues that you can actually be happy or at peace in any circumstance if you genuinely accept everything as it is, however it's unfolded, however it's unfolding, and however it will unfold. I know you might be skeptical about this argument right now, and that's okay. You might be thinking that this approach doesn't apply in all circumstances, that this would mean giving up on pursuing goals, working to improve your life conditions, letting injustices slide, or not defending yourself from threats or harm. But acceptance doesn't mean passivity, it means not having inner resistance to how things are in the moment. Inner resistance clouds your judgment, drains you of energy, and distracts you from objectively and effectively addressing your current life situations, some of which might be challenging. Acceptance doesn't change reality. Just as you know that you should not touch fire because it's inherently harmful to you, you can still recognize threats and harmful circumstances. And then, when you're in a state of pure acceptance, you can deal with these circumstances without inner resistance or inner turmoil encumbering you. When living life from a mode of pure acceptance, you can still pursue your goals wholeheartedly. In fact, when you accept reality as it is, you're more effective at making changes and achieving goals because you're acting from a place of clarity and peace, not from resistance, anger, yearning, or desperation, or other emotions. Also, instead of postponing joy and peace until you get there or achieve something, you experience that joy and or peace throughout the journey too. Therefore, you expand the conditions under which you feel good. This approach will dramatically improve your well being. How does meditation help you make all of what I've described a reality, you might ask? Well, your reactions imprint into your nervous system and are reinforced by your acting on, resisting, suppressing, or ignoring them. As a result, associated unpleasant emotions and sensations will rear their head from time to time, which will cause you to suffer. Most people respond or react by ignoring, resisting, or suppressing difficult emotions, and doing so can make you feel worse. Meditation helps you accept what is, reducing or eliminating the frequency or intensity of resistance and unpleasant emotions and sensations that arise during different life situations. To be clear, learning to do this is not an easy process. It takes practice and time. You typically won't start out being okay with how life is unfolding if you've spent your whole life and continue to spend your life resisting things as they are. You won't be able to just magically flip a switch to suddenly make you okay with how things are unfolding in life. What you need to do is, in every moment you can, notice the resistance, the stress, or the difficult emotions, and then practice bringing your full, steady attention to that unpleasantness and relax your body while you're facing it. Attention or awareness is the key to meditation. This meditation practice is the opposite of what your body does on a regular basis. Your body loves to react to things and make you be resistant to the unfolding of life. By relaxing repeatedly in the face of your resistance or discomfort, you slowly decondition your body from reacting unnecessarily, allowing you to simply be with life and accept the moment as it is. Be patient with this process, though. While humankind is so attuned to instantaneous gratification and wanting immediate relief, this process takes time and practice for you to experience results. It's a necessary process that will make it easier to experience joy and peace during any circumstances, and not just the circumstances that you prefer. As you become more adept at meditating, difficult experiences and emotions will pass through you without triggering resistance and reactions that will imprint into your nervous system. You won't experience unnecessary suffering as a result. In time, that suffering can go away altogether. All of this is possible through regular meditation practice. Everything I've described so far is encompassed in my own approach. And you might be wondering how my approach has affected my life. Well, I feel as if I am able to enjoy the unfoldment of life as a whole and not just when things go the way I want them to. I feel like I'm enjoying the journey of life. I feel happier and more at peace the vast majority of times, and I also feel more resilient in the face of challenges. I take the unfoldment of life much less personally. When you consider how the vast majority of the unfoldment of existence is just a whole bunch of cause and effect that has literally nothing to do with you, you realize how little influence and control you have over most things. And though it might not seem like it, recognizing this wholeheartedly and accepting it is a freeing realization. My goal through this podcast and episodes like this one is to help you experience relief from the suffering that you experience throughout life. I intend to do that by teaching you how to meditate properly and deeply. A fitness coach can promise results if you stay consistent and honest in your fitness regimen. I too can promise you that if you put in the work, are consistent about your effort, and are honest with yourself, you can reach a state of pure acceptance and so much more through meditation. And doing so will be transformative and life changing in the best ways possible. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next video.